This is episode 300 of the show, and I've realized I've let you down, but I'm going to make it up to you. I'm Dr. Jonathan. I work with organizations to make them inclusive, and I'm on a mission to help 1 million people like you to make your workplace inclusive. Get your pen and paper ready, because we're talking about how I let you down and why it won't happen again. This is a weird one for me because it's episode 300 of the podcast. For me personally, this is a moment of both triumph and disappointment. Triumph because we're one of the longest running DEI podcasts in the world. There's a handful of people doing this longer than us. They cover slightly different topics. Check out the show notes for an article I wrote that showed the longest running DEI podcasts in the world. And do you know what? I've just had an epiphany. I'm thinking to myself, I've just had an epiphany moment. Actually, we are the longest running inclusion podcast in the world. Leave that with me. If that's true, I'm going to check that out. I'm going to be saying it a lot more. Anyway, we are in our 7th year of informing and educating using applied research and thought leadership. We've got 5 types of show. That's 5 different formats for our shows. We have interviews, we've got explainers, book reviews, breakdowns, thought leadership, all of this in this podcast. My PhD and my podcast. 2 things I don't stop talking about. 2 things that have helped me leverage my personal aspiration to be a net positive force in the world. Now, these are 2 things that serve and inform my mission to help 1 million people like you to make your workplace inclusive. And when I say that, I mean you. You are the hero of your inclusion journey. And this is where I'm reminded about how I let you down. I'm constantly talking about your inclusion journey, but last year I was going to tell you about my inclusion journey. In episode 250 of this show, I promised to have an event where I was going to break down my inclusion journey. I was supposed to do that and it did not happen. Now, I've spent so much time doing so many things, it just fell to the side. So much time sharing insights on social media every day. So much time creating our email newsletter every week. So much time creating our LinkedIn newsletter every week. So much time doing our 30 book breakdowns. So much time doing our 3 biggest problems email course. So much time hosting our book club every month. So much time doing my 60-second book reviews every week. There's a lot of things that take so much of my time. All of this is so that you can gather insights and take action. Rather than talking about myself, I tend to talk about you. So I put talking about myself, talking about my inclusion journey on the back seat. And that's my mistake. I'm not a perfect person. I am imperfect. I am progressing. And I'm comfortable enough to say that and acknowledge that in public. As a regular member of our audience, you already know that some of you may get overwhelmed by all the stuff that you do to inspire, to lead, to make a change, to benefit others. And I get it. I really do. This is me trying to explain how I get it. You may not get thanks either. You may not get paid either. I do understand. And don't forget, everything that I just talked about is available for you for free. On the flip side, I have a business where I serve clients, where I bring everything that we discuss here to life in organizations through research, through training, through consulting, through other innovative practices. That's my day job. I'm showing up here for you because that's who I am. That's who I choose to be. And a not so secret message of the show, of my mission, is asking you, who do you choose to be? You. That's why whenever I cover these books, I literally say, I want you to make your own mind up. Are you going to make mistakes on the way? Yes. I certainly do. Last week, I made a mistake on the show. I was reviewing the book DEI Deconstructed, and the mistake I made, it had nothing to do with the book, but it had something to do with the word mistake. It was a phrase I used. I made a mistake. Check out that show. I kept that mistake in the show. I could have changed it. I decided not to. I just wanted to keep it there as a reminder. I'm not perfect, and you get to choose who you are in the same way that I get to choose who I am. Right or wrong, that's what I chose. And right or wrong, I want to keep encouraging you to make decisions, to keep choosing. Whenever we're talking about evidence-based inclusion, it's about choosing. It's about decision making. Okay, so here's what's going to happen next, because I want to make all of this up to you. 1, next week, we're going to have a small event where I talk about my own inclusion journey using a framework from legendary writer Joseph Campbell. Now, this is what I should have done last year. He wrote a book called The Hero with 1,000 Faces. In this book, he said that human stories follow a simple template, a simple framework known as the monomyth. You've probably heard of it if you've ever read a book, if you've ever watched a movie, even if you've watched a TV show. Everyone uses this framework. It's commonly known as the hero's journey. I'm using this framework to understand my journey in order to help you, to inspire you to understand yours. And by the way, it is scary how well this fits into the narrative. 2, we're launching a YouTube channel. Finally. Now, if you are a regular member of our audience, I've been talking about this for years. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I've faced a lot of personal and professional disappointment and difficulties in making this happen, but we have got it done. We're not really talking about it much, but I wanted you to be the first to know. We're soft launching it. I'm telling you, check out the show notes for all the details. I don't know how you listen to this podcast. I don't know how you access this podcast, but we're going to be putting all of the podcasts on YouTube, plus some of the other videos I make, plus some other videos that I am coming to make. Please check it out. Support us there. And 3, I want to thank you. You're the person who supports us most. I appreciate you and your time. And I'm going to give you a special behind the scenes look at how I create this podcast. So if you message me using the subject title 300 at podcast@elementofinclusion.com, so that's subject title 300, and you're going to send that to podcast@elementofinclusion.com. I'm going to share with you a little behind the scenes look about how I make this podcast. I want to do this to show you how all of this comes together. I hope this goes some way to making this up to you. I want you to know how much I appreciate you, your time, your attention. Your time and attention, these are 2 of the most important resources that you have, and you choose to spend it here. I don't take that for granted at all. I get up every day thinking about what else I can do to support you on your inclusion journey. I'm going to continue to do that if you continue to keep tuning in. So let's wrap this up. What are the key messages here? 1, I appreciate your time and attention. 2, next week, we're going to discuss my hero's journey so that you can understand yours. And 3, email me with the subject 300 because I've got a surprise for you. So what do you think? Do you want to see behind the scenes of the element of inclusion? Get in touch or leave a message. I would love to hear from you. If you've learned something from today's show, then give us a 5-star review and a comment wherever you're listening to the podcast. It helps other people like you to find the show. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.